Hello, thank you for joining today's webinar from Index Engines. Today's topic is CyberSense and how selling the last line of defense against ransomware provides value to your clients. My name is Jim McGann. I'm Vice President of Marketing with Index Engines. I will be hosting this session today. If you do have questions, there is a chat area, or you could email us. I'll put the email address up at the end and a contact form as well. Feel free to contact us and we can help you answer any questions about CyberSense and provide any kind of support as well that you may need. A little bit of introduction about Index Engines. Index Engines is the developer of CyberSense. CyberSense is a solution that we have partnered with Dell EMC, their data protection organization. It's fully integrated with their Dell EMC Cyber Recovery Isolated Vault solution. It's an automated integration, and we'll talk about that in today's session. And CyberSense is on Dell EMC's price book today. You can sell this today, if you, assuming you are a Dell partner, which most of you are. So you can sell and quote this today. In a nutshell, what is CyberSense? CyberSense is really the only solution out there that does this. It's very unique. It checks the integrity of data inside backup images. So a lot of solutions will look at the backup image and look at the quality of the backup image. CyberSense goes even further and looks at the data inside these backup images to make sure this data has integrity. How is that done? It's using state-of-the-art technology, including analytics and machine learning to detect corruption. So it's looking for typical signs of corruption of a cyber attack. And it supports a bunch of forensic reporting capabilities to quickly recover from this attack. So with ransomware, we know that there's a lot of real-time solutions out there. There's real-time protection solutions from vendors like McAfee, Symantec. There's behavioral analytics solutions like Varonis. We know that they're effective. They're just not 100% effective. We're not saying CyberSense is a replacement for these solutions. CyberSense is a new layer or an additional layer of protection on top of these solutions. Consider it the last line of protection to be able to protect against cyber attacks. So when these solutions fail, and we know that they will, if they were 100% effective, we wouldn't be having this conversation and you would be reading about ransomware attacks every day in the press. When they fail, CyberSense is there to really look at the data. And it looks inside the data for signs of corruption that is typical of a cyber attack. What do they do to the data? It's pretty common. They do data encryption, encryption of a page of a database, partial encryption of a file, full encryption of files. Data corruption, changing the extensions to .lol or .encrypted, corrupting or stripping out content, mass deletions of data. Their behavior is pretty typical. So the concept is that CyberSense is monitoring data as it's backed up, so it's integrated with the data protection process as part of the Dell EMC offering that you'll hear about. As it's backed up and replicated, in this case, into an isolated vault, which adds another layer of protection. CyberSense looks for these signs of corruption. And when it sees in the new observation or the new backup, these signs of corruption, it'll send an alert out. So let's go deeper. One of the key aspects of CyberSense is the ability to get inside of backup images. So CyberSense can directly go inside backup images. All common flavors of backup from Dell EMC, including Networker, Avamar, PowerProtect Data Manager is something in process. IBM Spectrum Protect, Commvault, Veritas Net Backup. So it can get inside these backup images and index inside the content without the need for the backup software. So that's pretty special capability. And this matrix is something that's on our website. You can see the link there, indexengines.com/CS. So getting inside there and looking at the data, we're not checking the integrity. It does look at the integrity of the backup image, but more so, it looks at the integrity of the data inside the backup image, whether it be file system data, SharePoint, DB2, the cache database from Epic, Exchange, Lotus, Oracle, things like that. So what value does this provide to the Cyber Recovery Vault? It really provides three things. First, it does a baseline scan. So in the baseline scan, it's checking the integrity of the data. CyberSense, it needs to see observations of the data. So it needs to see how data changes over time. It's a point-in-time analysis. So we know that Cyber Recovery Vault is isolating and protecting the data. What CyberSense will do on the first observation is look at the data and check the integrity and see pretty obvious signs of corruption, like .lol, .encrypted extensions, known malware, It'll find highly encrypted files and so on. So we only feel confident that that's about a 95% level of confidence in finding data corruption. On subsequent observations where you see comparisons or new views of the data, so it'll compare a Word document from Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, that level of confidence goes up to 99.5. 99.5 because it's looking inside the file and it's really not guessing. It's doing pretty exact analysis of a file to see if it has been corrupted. And then the third capability that adds to cyber recovery, the Dell EMC product, is forensic reporting. So when the data is corrupted, CyberSense will give you a series of reports, which I'll show you, that will allow you to diagnose and recover from the attack. So the idea is that within a backup cycle, you will see the corruption, understand what's happening and what the depth of it is, and provide a series of reports to find out how to recover from this corruption. So the idea that it will turn a recovery process from days and weeks and months down to hours. So the workflow is pretty straightforward. The scan occurs, and again, this is integrated with the Cyber Recovery Vaults. This is all an automated process. And what we hear from customers is they really want a set it and forget it environment that'll just alert them when there are signs of corruption. So the scan is integrated with the Cyber Recovery Vault. The scan automatically occurs after data is replicated to the vault. Over 100 analytics are generated that are indicative of a cyber attack. We use something called entropy, which is the random disorderness of a file. So entropy, when a file becomes encrypted, it becomes very disordered. So the entropy score going up to, from 47, for example, up to 99, which is the highest score, that signifies 99 signifies encryption. Look for file corruption. So a common corruption is changing the file extension or appending onto the file extension .doc, appending onto it .encrypted or .lol. So if, for example, a Word document has an entropy score increased to 99 on Wednesday, and also the file extension changes to .lol, that is an attack vector. So all these analytics, that includes deletions, creations, file corruption, dissimilarity, and so on, are all generated every observation, and they're fed to machine learning algorithms that have been trained on all the common Trojans, thousands of Trojans, and the common attack vectors. So all these pieces of evidence that are the analytics are fed to machine learning to come up with a deterministic answer on whether the data corruption has occurred. So the idea is we're minimizing false positives and false negatives by looking for exact behavior. So for example, as I mentioned earlier, if say a PDF, the extension changes on a PDF, or for example, a PDF becomes encrypted, that could be a user encrypting the PDF. That's normal behavior. But if at the same time, the machine learning says, hey, it was encrypted, and also the extension was changed to a non-PDF acceptable extension, that is an attack vector. So that's when you'll get a deterministic alert. If there is no sign of corruption, that process repeats inside the isolated vault over and over. If you never get an alert, you're lucky because you've never seen data corruption. If you do get an alert, there's a bunch of forensic tools that will allow you to diagnose and recover. A question that came up, it says, can data be scanned before a final sent to the vault air gap copy? Isn't it too late if you found a corruption encryption in your final copy? The idea is to get a clean backup. So you can scan it outside in production. We don't recommend that CyberSense runs in production environment because it's exposed to the elements. It's also a full content index, which is a resource that you really don't want to put on your production media server. But you can run the scan. The idea is, and what we've seen the workflow that customers deploy, and there's hundreds of cyber recovery and CyberSense customers globally today, is they replicate to the vault and they do a first analysis, a detailed analysis of day one, and make sure it's clean. And if it's not clean, you can go, and if it's already corrupted, and we have seen customers that have signs of corruption from a previous attack in the vault copy, they do clean this up so they can get a clean working copy. And we can take them through that process. The reports are pretty straightforward. This is I'm not going to go through the detail of this. This is the workflow with cyber recovery. On the left side here, you'll see your production environment, production network, and here's your production data domain. This is replicated to a vault data domain, and retention lock is applied. It's air gapped off the network, so it's isolated from the network. The IP address for this location is not published, it's not known. It's really locked away and hidden from cyber attacks. So that's added protection for your data. The cyber criminals don't even know that it's there. And once retention lock is applied, CyberSense goes directly into the data. The data domain presents a shadow copy of the data for scanning. The data is scanned. The scan takes as long, it really depends on how much data there is. Databases are faster. A lot of loose files are slower. We have calculators to calculate the performance requirements. We can put in multiple CyberSense servers in there to stack them up to support larger environments. We have customers that are replicating a terabyte to the vault. We have customers that are replicating petabytes over multiple vaults. So it really runs the gamut in terms of what can happen there. So this process is all integrated in the cyber recovery. Here I have 18.1, it's much further along than that is, but the cyber recovery dashboard. Some of your customers, and we see a lot of rubrics out there, rubrics kind of talking about how it's as good as what CyberSense does out there in terms of analytics. They are probably the only vendor that we see out there that is really doing content-based analytics out there. The problem is their workflow. Their workflow is significantly flawed, and I have information here. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. But to understand their workflow, you need to understand what a file looks like. So it's pretty straightforward. File has metadata. The file extension, .doc, .pdf, file size, file location. Inside the header, it's inside the content of the file. The header is the true file type. So you can go to a Word doc and change the extension from .doc to .abc. But if you read the header, the true header will tell you, hey, this is a Word doc. It's always been a Word doc, regardless of what extension you're changing. It also talks about the file. What is the true file structure? And then the document content, the words and content that's created. Different types of attacks that occur. Changing the file extension is common. Changing file size, so really corrupting them. Making a metadata or a change that impacts the metadata that could easily be found. File type mismatch. So some of the cyber attacks will change the extension, but maybe use a known valid extension. And if by using a known valid extension, if you're looking for .lol or .encrypted, if it's a valid extension, even though it's not the true extension, it won't set off a trigger. Or corrupting the file structure, embedding inside of a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet some encryption. And then finally, encryption inside the content, a page of a database, for example, or corrupting the content. This is much deeper. The important aspect is if you're just looking at file metadata, which a lot of the solutions out there do, these cyber criminals are getting smarter and smarter, and they're detecting what kind of tools you use in-house to protect your data. If they see you start detecting their corruption of metadata, they're going to move downstream, and they're going to go to the more sophisticated types of attacks. So you want to really deploy a solution that'll get as sophisticated as you can, like CyberSense, to find the more complex or advanced types of corruption. So what Rubrics does here is they don't have enough horsepower on premise to do content-based analysis. So they just do file metadata, find whatever they can that is based on corruption of the file metadata on the first pass. CyberSense does one and only pass, and it does file metadata, document metadata, and document content. It looks into everything in pass one. So it'll find 99.5% confidence. When we turn off the content-based analytics with CyberSense, we only see corruption with 88% confidence. And again, if the cyber criminals go deeper into more sophisticated types of attacks, that 88% is going to drop dramatically. But what Rubrics does is they say they do full content analysis. What they do is they send anything they find in the first pass, which is just based on metadata, out to their Polaris cloud for content-based analysis. And doing content-based analysis is something that CyberSense does on pass one. They do it on pass two. So they're going to find a subset of the data and then do full content. And then they have to move it out to the cloud to do this type of analysis. So anyway, we do see Rubrics. There's a lot of FUD out there in the market about what they do. And they say they do the same thing that CyberSense. On their website, it sounds the same. But in their workflow, and I've talked to many customers about this, it's dramatically different and will provide far less level of confidence in terms of finding data corruption. So if there is an attack and if there is signs of data corruption, there's a number of forensic analysis tools that are available to help diagnose and recover. So with CyberSense, you'll know when it happens. The important thing, and one of the earlier questions is if you replicate to the vault and you see data is already corrupted, you've already been attacked. You need to start a cleanup process. What CyberSense will tell you, hey, you've already been corrupted. Or, we've had a customer just recently that was running CyberSense for 1 week, exactly 1 week, and then got attacked. So they knew that that attack happened because they saw signs of alerts here, right? So you'll know when it happens. And then CyberSense also gives you the investigation capabilities, the who, what, where, and when of what happened. So who was impacted, how much damage was done. So was it 5 files or was it 50,000 files that were corrupted? Big difference. What was attacked? Is it all data, office documents on a single server? It'll give you a listing of corrupted files. Where is the source? And, using the exact listing of corrupted files with the full file name and path, you can use event log management tools to say, who last touched these files and encrypted these files. That would be John Doe. So John Doe is the user account that was breached. And then what ransomware was used, you can say, ask the event log tools what executable was used to delete or encrypt these files. It was this executable, which happens to be your ransomware. And then when did it happen? So when's the last good backup set to recover from? And that's this real time saver here to minimize downtime. So the post-attack workflow is pretty straightforward. As I mentioned earlier, CyberSense provides a comprehensive index that's looking at how data changes over time. Then it provides a series over 100 security analytics, which we talked about, that are indicative of the cyber attack. All that's automated. And then the machine learning will process the analytics to determine exactly what's going on. The machine learning will tell you the attack vector notification. So it'll tell you what type of attack vector is being executed. More about that in a minute. Again, it'll give you a full listing of the corrupt files. So the full file name and path. Is it all files on a single server? One of the customers we saw in Europe that had an attack, every file that was corrupted was on a single server. So that was easy to isolate. They could isolate the server off the network. So you can take these full file name and list and path, and you could use event log tools, and there's event log tools in CyberSense to find the breached user account, as I mentioned earlier, and the executable that's being used. That would be your ransomware. And then finally, the most important point is CyberSense will tell you the last good backup sets. So if data corruption happens over time, these could be backup sets that span multiple days or weeks. So this is the cyber recovery dashboard from Dell EMC. CyberSense is integrated into this dashboard, and you'll see here in red, there's a critical alert. That's a critical alert that was sent from CyberSense saying that there's signs of corruption in the data. So all you need to do with the cyber recovery solution is to look at the dashboard every day after the replication happens and the analysis happens and the integrity check happens, and look at this alert and say, what does everything look like? Everything looks good. Go about your day. If there's an alert, you need to kick into action here. So CyberSense will kick out, as I mentioned, all these analytics. This is the detailed report about the analytics. So if you want to really get into the nuts and bolts of it, you can see things like entropy. You can see like file counts and deleted file counts and things like that. You don't need to look at these analytics. This is a lot more detail than you need. I'm just showing you what's kicked out from CyberSense, but it'll give you all those different statistics that are generated every time. The important point that you would need is this infection here. So this is kicking out infection number 6. So this is attack vector number 6. This is what CyberSense says is happening to your data based on the machine learning and the analytics. So what is attack vector number 6? These are the 28 different types of attack vectors that are being detected. A lot of these are obscure. The top 6 highlighted in red are the most common. They're 99+% of what's happening. So this one is strong encryption with obfuscated. Yeah, I need to change the name. I can never say that. Obfuscated file name. So again, this is encrypting a file or a database and changing the file name. So these are the common ones. So that's what CyberSense is telling you that's happening. So you can go to the cybersecurity team and saying, hey, it looks like we're having an attack. It's this type of attack. We don't know the name of the attack yet, but we know this is what it's doing to the files. You can run reports within CyberSense to say, give me a listing of the data that's attacked. And here, this report is interesting because what we're showing, and all the files that are corrupted are auto-tagged. So the beauty of that is you can say, show me the original file. So these are the original last good version of the file, and compare it to the suspect file. These are the suspect corrupt files. So here it's going to tell you the volume of these. So in this case, is there 100 of files that were corrupted or 100,000 files that were corrupted? If you look closely here, this is a little bit tight to see. I'll blow up on this. But you can see it's comparing the same files. And again, it's the corrupted versus the last good version. So you can see what happened here is this 0001.doc. The corrupted version on top of it, they appended .fun on there. .fun is actually a valid application extension. So if you're just looking at the metadata, your metadata tools may say, hey, the file's named .fun, that's a valid file. But cyber criminals use that because it's a very obscure application, it's some engineering application. And you see the word icon is gone, so they've corrupted the file so much so that CyberSense can't even paste it or detect what type of file it is. More of that coming. So here's a screenshot of those same files, actually 002.doc. The comparison, you can look at detailed metadata here. So now when you look at the metadata of the corrupt file, the file type is unknown. So this file has been corrupted by malware and can't even be read. So CyberSense can't even read this and understand the content. And if you look down below, you'll see file entropy is 99. That shows that the file's been encrypted. So being the file, the last the attack vector number 6 was the obfuscated file name, which is appending.fun, and encryption, which is so there's the 99. That's why the attack vector or the alert was triggered. So now you can run this same report. If you look at this report here, I'm running the report on the last good version. So being that CyberSense is based on observations, so on Tuesday, everything looked good. On Wednesday, there was a few thousand files that were corrupted. So you can say on the Tuesday files, the last good version, where is the backup of these last good versions? So if you have backups that run over different backup sets, you can see here, it'll kick out, since the metadata that's captured is the backup metadata as well, it'll kick out the backup sets for these files. So you can see here, there's a few thousand files that were corrupted based on CyberSense. You can do a summary report, and this report is standard in the CyberSense system. That'll tell you these files, the last good version of these files are on these backup sets, these backup set IDs and backup times. It'll tell you where those are. So all you need to do, and we've seen many customers in the press that don't have cyber recovery and CyberSense, when they get attacked, within 24 hours, they can know the ransomware that attacked them, and they start a recovery process. Their biggest challenge is, tell me the backups that I need to put in place in order to recover. And also, if they've been attacked in such that their core infrastructure, like the Active Directory, LDAP, and their networking tools have been corrupted, this CyberSense checks the integrity of these. So CyberSense will tell you where the last good versions of those are on what backup sets. So we've seen, companies and organizations like City of Baltimore and Garmin and others that have been attacked recently in the press that have taken weeks and many months. City of Baltimore, after 6 months, they still weren't fully recovered. This would give you the hit list of the backup sets that need to be recovered and need to be restored, so you can start a recovery process right away. You don't need to create a clean room and check the integrity of the data. CyberSense has already done that for you. So what's CyberSense differentiation? Again, it's not a replacement for real-time security products. That's important. I talk to customers that say we've got 75 different security applications. We don't need any more. CyberSense is an add-on to those, and it's doing what those others do not do. It's the last line of defense. And it's the only solution that on the first pass looks inside every file and every database that's scanned. And the fact that cyber criminals are getting more sophisticated, if you follow what they're doing by infiltrating the organizations and getting inside the data center, hiding inside virtual machines, hiding inside caches of the data, they're getting sophisticated. They are using machine learning. So you should be using machine learning to combat these guys as well, and just being as sophisticated as possible to check the integrity of the data. So we have a bunch of support material for partners and resellers and system integrators that are out there today. What my feeling is when I talk to these partners, there's really 6 reasons why you should be selling CyberSense as part of your portfolio. And part of it is, the inclusion with the Dell EMC Cyber Recovery Vault. We've seen tremendous success with that in this year of COVID and everybody working from home. The cyber criminals are off the grid and really attacking customers, especially school systems and healthcare organizations. And there was a report in Germany of a woman who passed away because she couldn't go into a hospital that was attacked by a cyber attack. The attacks are just fast and furious. So, we're having a lot of great success with the Dell EMC team and selling this joint solution. And the fact that it's off the grid is a key aspect. The fact that it integrates with backup software from Networker Avamar to Commvault, Spectrum Protect, and so on. The fact that it's doing full content-based analytics is critical, provide confidence that the data has integrity. The fact that it can scale, as I mentioned, we have customers that are doing terabytes of analytics. We have customers that are doing hundreds of terabytes or petabytes of analytics across multiple vaults. It's just crazy the amount of the scale of the deployments. The advanced attacks that are coming, you need advanced tools to be able to find this sophisticated corruption. And peace of mind, the most important point, and customers always talk about, well, do I really need an isolated vault? Can I do this in production? Can I do this on my network? Sure, but you can sleep well at night knowing that what you have isolated in a vault has integrity. And if you do have an attack, or when you have an attack, you can go to that isolated vault and with confidence restore that data out without having to create clean rooms and restore it out with confidence. It's peace of mind that many organizations present to their board of directors saying, hey, there's good, better, and best out there. We've really chosen the best, and for these reasons, this is why. Competitive landscape, there's a bunch of people talking about this out there. There's a lot of FUD out there. Again, real-time solutions, CyberSense is not competitive, but complementary against the last line of defense out there. A bunch of backup vendors. I talked about Rubrik. It's really the workflow that's flawed. They do a two-pass approach that'll generate significant false negatives out there. And we've talked to customers that have been using Rubriks and find this, that a lot of the data that they provide and the analytics they provide are not very usable because of that. Cohesity is really designed to look for common vulnerabilities. They're not looking at the file integrity. Commvault has some metadata analytics out there. Again, I talked about by just looking at metadata, you're going to find the obvious types of attacks and not find the deeper, more sophisticated attacks. And then Veeam and Veritas are more focused on immutability, locking the data down, really not looking at the data integrity. So everybody talks about having ransomware capabilities. There's a wide range out there, but CyberSense is the only one that's doing full content-based analytics, checking the integrity and providing confidence that the data is clean. And when you talk about data, being a gold copy or data being clean within an isolated vault, that's what we're talking about, is that it's clean because it's been checked for any signs of corruption. So anyway, that's it for today. We're keeping it to half an hour. I appreciate everybody's patience on this and attention. Next steps, if you go to indexengines.com/Dell Partner, there's a CyberSense sales kit you can download that includes the latest white papers, latest data sheets, overcoming objections, FAQs, all sorts of stuff that you would need there. You can also email us at info@indexengines, and we'll get back to you right away. We have a number of partners that we're working in conjunction with Dell EMC to help support their sales efforts. We can provide a lot of different resources to you, from configuration, sales support. We have a bunch of sales engineers that can provide technical expertise as well out there. So that's it for today. Look forward to hearing from you. Again, if you have any questions, we're kind of running short. I answered one of them live, but I see a few of them. If we didn't get back to you in real time, we'll contact you directly. But reach out to us, happy to talk to you, and look forward to helping you with your cyber initiatives. Okay, thank you all for your attention, and that's it for today.